I'm excited to introduce Marcus Nelson. Marcus Nelson is a seasoned brand storyteller whose clients include Salesforce, Facebook, Instagram, and Box. Maybe you've heard of those folks. I don't know. He's immersed himself in the world of writing with AI, fueling his passion for exploring ways to merge technology and storytelling. He is also the founder of User Voice, Advocate, and his latest venture, Get Estimator. All right, attendees, let's kick it off. The art of crafting prompts, the first session of AI for content creators. Marcus, are you ready to rock and roll, my friend?
I hope so. I need to share my screen, though.
Let's do it. Yep, we see it.
Okay, so every prompt is a pathway, not the destination. The first thing I want to point out is never use the AI as your finished product. The most important thing about anything, if you take anything away from this conversation, I'm trying to explain to you how AI is not flawless. And I'm going to point out a lot of ethic things that need to be considered in the future. So with that in mind, know that it's just a starting point. We're just trying to teach you ways to inspire you to get past any of those kind of writer blocks that you might have or some sort of ideas. Hopefully these prompts will help you kind of work your way through those issues that you come up against. So why is prompting an art? So chatbots, they're just a transformer-based language model. And when you look at a chatbot, what you're looking at is not necessarily a conversation with somebody. You have to remember that other side, that server, or however it's structured, I don't even know, but it is not a person. It can't feel, it doesn't have emotions, it doesn't have empathy. That's all going to come from you. And when you create context around these prompts, remember that the more specific your prompt is, the better you're going to get as an outcome, as a starting place. So that's the most important thing I want you to know, is the reason these prompts are important is you want to get to that response that you want. And here's how we're going to do it. So our goal, create high quality, informative, and engaging prompts optimized to elicit relevant and accurate responses from conversational AI models. Sounds pretty complicated? No, not so much. ChatGPT is like a calculator for words. This is the best quote I've ever heard. I'm not even sure who said it, but if you're going to think about it, it's a calculator for words. It's going to calculate the words that come after. I was just telling George before we got on here, I was watching a thing on YouTube, and it was talking about how ChatGPT really, at its essence, is only creating one word at a time. Because of the math and all the things that it does, it literally is a calculator, and it's calculating what that next word might be. So some limitations. The maximum prompt length that you're going to come up against is 4,096 characters. That's about roughly 1,000 words. The answers that you're going to get are going to be half as long, so about 500 words. And I'm going to teach you some prompts that'll teach you how to overcome that. The maximum words per response is about 25,000 words in total. That means add up all the responses. And its short-term memory is about 64,000 words, meaning that as you're talking with the AI, you're basically training it. And it's going to remember up until a point parts of your conversation. So the idea here is that once you go over 64,000 words, you may have to start reminding the AI that this is what we're talking about, or this is the tone and voice that we want to use. You're going to find out that as you get into it, there's going to be some barriers. And again, I'll teach you how to overcome those in a second. So how long are conversations available? 30 days. So take your notes, copy paste somewhere, because they're going to be gone in 30 days. And as far as history is concerned, the memory cutoff, you probably already know this, is September 2021. Now you can get around this with some plugins, and the latest versions are going to be able to do more recent kind of searches. But for now, as is, ChatGPT is up until September 2021. All right, I'm going to start off with some short prompts. These are the micro prompts. Continue. So I was telling you how you might run out of 2,048 characters. You can simply type in continue. You'll see that that blinking cursor will pop up in the form. That lets you know that it's at its end. And you'll also see that, maybe it's stopped in mid-sentence, or maybe even part of a word. So you just type in continue or go on, keep going, something to that effect, and it'll pick up the thread. Now, if it doesn't, go ahead and stop the response. Go back and edit your prompt. And this time, type in something like continue, colon, quote, and then just write in the last couple words that were on the prompt that you got, and it'll pick up from there. So just a little helpful tip. Expand. So you don't like a bare bones response and you want details fleshed out, just type in expand or elaborate. It will do that. It also works from other texts. So maybe you've gotten a paragraph that you wrote, or you're doing research on something and you want to know a little bit more. You can also do the same thing where you just type in expand, colon, make sure you do a shift and then return. That's important so it doesn't run off on you. And then quote, and then type in paste in your text, and that will expand it for you. Analyze. Now this one's kind of my favorite. So analyze will go ahead and look at a piece of text, either something that it's written already or something that you want it to write when you want to teach it your voice and stuff. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But the easiest way to do that, just analyze for style, voice, and tone, hit that shift, hit that return, then type in your text and it'll analyze it for you. So very handy to have around. Summarize. So let's say you got a large response copy and it's a little bit too much to chew on. Just give me the cliff notes. Type in summarize, it'll do it. Again, you can do same thing with the outside text. Summarize, colon, shift, enter, and insert the text that you want to be summarized. All right, let's talk about some kinds of prompts, right? Instructional prompts. Now, these are specific, explicit commands. You've probably already been doing this and didn't even know it. It's when you're asking one thing of the AI. So for instance, write a poem about a sunset or explain the process of photosynthesis. You'll notice that you'll get, unfortunately for Google, this is a better way to start finding this kind of information because it gives you the answers and not a bunch of links that you're going to have to weed through. Exploratory prompts. Now, the thing about this, it gives you a starting point for generating imaginative content. So this might be more for the writers in the room, maybe not necessarily the marketers, but maybe, I don't know, we'll see. So you want to start with a prompt that kind of inspires something. You want to go somewhere, but you're not necessarily sure where to go with it. So what would life be like if humans could fly? Kind of random, right? But you will get a response. What if the internet never existed? You'll get a response. And you can use that as kind of ways to work into your stories, work into the narrative that you're trying to build. And it's just a great way, again, for those writer blocks that you have from time to time, or maybe you're just not inspired, you can pop out a couple of these and all of a sudden it might spawn an idea or inspire you to do something with it. Scaffolding prompts. So scaffolding prompts are setting up a framework. It's like you want to go somewhere with it and you're just stacking the structure on top of it. So in this example, starting from a small dispute in a tiny village, outline a massive world-changing conflict. So you've set the premise and now you're asking it to give it some structure. Here's another one. Tell a love story with a chance meeting in a bookstore and ending with heart-wrenching farewell. What was that movie? You've Got Mail? Kind of like that. That's what it reminds me of. You've Got Mail. Now the interactive prompts. These are a lot easier. This is facilitating an interaction and engagement. So maybe you're doing some brainstorming. Maybe you're seeking out some ideas. This is where you start with, and you're going to stack on top. So the first thing you might say is, help me brainstorm ideas for a science fiction short story. Once it gives you some ideas, it's going to elicit some new idea or some new direction. And then you're going to type that in, and it'll just be iterative until you get to the place that you want to go. So there's other styles that are available that go into genre, but since we're supposed to be marketers and not necessarily writers, there are things for genre prompts that that I'm happy to share about offline. Just ask. But these are the prompts that I think were most important here. All right, now some advanced prompt crafting. We've learned a bunch. Where are we going to take this? What happens if you were to prompt with a chain of all of these types of things, where you start stacking them on top of each other? You want to turn this into a complex prompt where it's just, you're going to ask it one thing and you're hoping to get one answer. So instead of the back and forth, you kind of have a good idea what you're going to do with it. You're the subject matter expert here. You know what you want. You type it in, you're going to get that answer. Now, as an example, you could start with write a suspenseful story, introduce a mysterious character, and reveal a shocking secret about the character. That's one way to do it. You're stacking them together, and that becomes one prompt. Now, let's add to that. If you want to get more specific, you can get some explicit type of specification. Now, this is where you're actually diving in deep. So in this instance, I'm asking ChatGPT to help me write an email. A company X has screwed up and they're apologizing to a customer for a shipping delay. Use a positive tone and offer a 50% discount on their next purchase as our gift of appreciation. And you know exactly what you want. You know exactly what you need. It's explicit. Going into contextual. So adding information can generate a better response. The more that you provide in context, the AI, the better it's going to be able to react. If you don't give it context, you're going to get generic answers. So when you want to do context, that context can be anything. That can be like the voice, give me, write in the voice of, trying to think of somebody that's got an interesting, Christopher Walken, right in the voice of Christopher Walken, or James Earl Jones or something. Or imagine you're a detective with a tragic past investigating murder in a small coastal town. Those are ways to kind of create that context and develop the storyline that you're trying to create. And then there's iterative refinement. Once you've already gotten that answer and you're trying to kind of narrow it down, these are the iterations. This is where you're kind of saying, oh, okay, help me brainstorm this idea about science fiction short story. Or, can you suggest some plot twists for a spy thriller set in the Cold War? That kind of iteration, each time it comes back, you're adding a little bit more, you're adding a little bit more, you're adding a little bit more. All that to say is there is such a thing as called a mega prompt. Mega prompt. I wish I had sound effects here.
Marcus, quick question before we get into the mega prompt. Do you want to take a few minutes? Yeah, actually, I probably could do something for you there. But do we want to take some time to actually answer some of these plethora of questions that we got from the first section?
Yeah, because I can't see them.
Okay, beautiful. Then let's start with Teresa. Teresa says, I've had friends who are writers be incredibly offended that I might use ChatGPT because of it's stealing their IP. What suggestions do you have for leveraging AI and avoiding using another writer's work or protecting IP for authors, writers who do not want their content used?
Well, we're going to go into ethics, but I'll answer that this way is that there is technology out there now, and it's only going to get better, that will be able to detect for plagiarism. The one thing that I would say is that I would go back to the first thing I said right at the beginning. This is for inspiration. It does not have feelings. The AI does not have an emotional connection. It doesn't know who or where or care where the information came from. So it's up to you to take that information and turn it into your own.
Awesome. Jennifer and John had similar questions, and it's around the September 2021. Questions were like, is that after that, before that? Just give maybe some specifics to the memory meaning in the date.
Up to that. So anything after September 2021. So when they fed in the data, that's where the data started. So they filled it full of stuff, conversations and chats from Reddit, books, conversations, all kinds of stuff, but all of it started, or I shouldn't say start, but went up to September 21. So that's the cutoff date. Anything after that, don't expect it to know.
Very good. Elizabeth says, I'm unclear on when you would use the analyze prompt.
Well, we're going to show you. Should I save it?
Save it. Save that one. Yeah, we'll keep that as a teaser.
Okay.
So this is interesting. What's the benefit of prompt chaining? That might be what you're getting into as well, versus a single prompt that asks multiple questions.
It's really because if you're going to ask multiple questions, remember I said how you're the subject matter expert. If you know what you're trying to derive from the inquiry, then you're probably going to put them all in one chain. If you don't, if you're unfamiliar with this subject matter, or you're unfamiliar with where you're going to go, that's when you're going to go onesie twosies, right?
So I'll ask this one, and again, this might be something you're getting to or not, but you said there are some plugins to about using information from 2021, I think, and beyond. What are these plugins? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I have a couple, and I'm going to show you at the end. But the one right off the bat that I will say is that if you are paying for ChatGPT, they recently announced a beta where you can actually search current web inside of ChatGPT. So while you're doing a prompt, you just flip the switch and it'll start looking up for more modern stuff. Now, it hasn't been properly digested in the way that some of the other content has, so mileage may vary, but it's kind of a shortcut for now until they find more ways to get real-time data.
All right, I'm going to ask one more question, Marcus, and then you're going to be able to get back into
the mega prompt.
All right. So what are the language limitations? Can ChatGPT think in English and translate and reply in another language in which not so much native information is already available? Thoughts?
Yes, 26 languages. Now, with ChatGPT 3.5, if you're using the basic one, it's just English. When they switch to 4, then that's when they introduce new languages. So it's 26 languages. Because I don't speak all those 26 languages, I can't tell you how accurate it is. So, like I said, fact check everything. What is it? Trust, but verify. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, brother, we'll let you get back to
the mega prompt.
Man, thank you. You're spoiling me, George. All right, here we go. The mega prompt. So breaking all of this down. A mega prompt is when you kind of string all of this stuff together. Now, in this example, I'm going to give you how to write, or I'm asking it how to write a press release. So it's very generic because I didn't want to put too much content on here because it wouldn't fit on one slide, but you'll get the idea. So I've written it all out. You don't have to read all this, don't bother, but just so you know, we're going to break this down. You're going to start with the persona. Who are you? Who are you? Where are you coming from? What's your, expertise? What's your background? You're telling ChatGPT to put on a persona. And so like any actor, it's going to put on that persona and it's going to act and behave in that manner. In this case, we're telling it, you're an expert B2B brand marketer. Then we're going to create a task. And so that task is a press release. We want you to write a press release from a company, we're going to call it X, announcing features Y and Z. Fabulous features. You love them. And then we're going to use some quotes. So here's quote A, here's quote B from CEO, Mr. Guy. And we're going to include our product tagline, which is D, and our boilerplate. So got ahead of myself there. The mouth and the finger didn't line up. So those are the steps you're going to take. You've given it steps. You've given it a persona. You've given it context. Now you're giving it steps. The next thing we're going to do is give it context. And so with that, I think I misspoke. Anyways, you'll follow. So on the context, you're saying, okay, the audience are tech reporters, and they are specific in the AI and chatbot sector. And we're going to use casual but persuasive tone. And the word count, we don't want it to be more than 350 words. So that's the context. We're being very specific here of what we want as an outcome. Then the goal. Well, we want to drive traffic, right? That's what we're trying to do. We want people to come to our website. We want to increase engagement, and we want to boost sales. And what's the format? Well, let's choose Chicago style. All right, Chicago style page formatting, and also include a copy of the press release in raw HTML because I want to be able to paste it into a website. And then we're going to give it the assets, right? Quote A, blah, 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 blah. Quote B, blah, 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 blah. Tagline, yada, yada, yada. Boilerplate, your Lorem Ipsum. Okay, so you kind of get the idea? You following so far? So then it's going to kick out an answer. Oops, I'm sorry. I jumped ahead of myself. So here's the prompt. Now the answer. There's still quite a bit of cleanup you're going to have to do, but you can see it's already formatted in the way it's supposed to be. You're going to use this as maybe your template, and you'll be able to fill in the blanks. But what can you do to improve this? Now, you could actually ask to get some better information. Never be afraid to ask ChatGPT, how can I improve this? You know, how would you rewrite this? Or you could start over by, doing some iterative refinement and just, ping it one thing at a time and ask ChatGPT to just give you more insight as to why or how or what needs to be included that isn't already. Now, some ethical considerations. Plagiarism, this is what we talked about. If you're using AI to assist you with writing or context creation, be aware that plagiarism detection tools exist. So we know that if you quote something, you need to cite it. If you don't know where it's coming from and ChatGPT has given it to you, you might want to check, do a quick search, see if it's copied from somewhere. If you're really nervous about it, but you can't find something proving one way or the other, change the text to make it your own, okay? So that's one thing on plagiarism. The next thing is contextual understanding. We talked about this earlier too, because of it being a computer. It doesn't feel, it doesn't comprehend, it doesn't have cultural nuances, ethical considerations, all of those things that make us human, the way that we make decisions, it doesn't have. So you have to keep that at the forefront of your thoughts when you get these answers that maybe it doesn't really understand me. Do I need to ask more questions, or do I need to be more specific? Or do I need to just iterate and ask it and find out why it's saying what it's saying? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Bias and sensitivity. Again, it's pulling information from Reddit. It's pulling information from books. It's pulling information from random conversations. It's pulling from all of these places. And if you followed what Microsoft did on Twitter years ago, I think it was named Lana. Is that what it was? I can't remember. But within like 8 hours, she was a chat bot on Twitter that would have conversations with people, and people could, ask it questions and whatnot. And within like 8 hours or something, it started becoming quite racist, right? But again, it doesn't know. It doesn't understand, things that can potentially harm people or cultural norms or any of that type of thing. So just be conscious of that. Also, that your responses are not going to have some sort of filter that looks for that. And on the same token, don't talk to it that way either. If you give it a direction that way, it will run with it. They've set up some blockers, and there are some limits to it, but it's not 100%. Misinformation and disinformation. So be cautious not to create prompts that promote misinformation. It does learn from your interactions. So you never want to put anything in there that isn't true, or even for yourself, don't put your personal information. I would not put your personal information of anything into ChatGPT, not your address, not your social security, not that, I don't know why you would, but you don't want to do any of that sort of thing. Always use kind of different names, pseudonyms, whatever, because at the end of the day, it's still learning from you. Somebody's on the other side, they're going to go through it. It's just a matter of time before something's going to happen and somebody's going to get in trouble, I'm sure. But yeah, just a little side note. Safety and harm. Avoid prompts that encourage self-harm, violent, and illegal activities. I know we're all good people. We wouldn't do that. So, but I still have to call it out. Don't prompt it or ask it in ways that might elicit some response in this manner. Now, I can't remember her name, but who was asking about why you would use analyze? George?
Let me actually look at answered questions. And
was it Anna? I
think it might have been Elizabeth Graham.
All right, Elizabeth, this one's for you. This is why you need to know how you would use analyze. So I want to teach it my voice. I can take some pre-prepared, maybe I wrote a Medium post, or I've already done a press release, or a portion of a book I wrote, who knows? But what you do is you would take that and you would copy it. Now, again, you want to have it less than 4,000 characters, 4,000 characters. And you're going to say, analyze this. And what do you want it to analyze for? In this case, I'm using the example style, voice, and tone. And then you're going to hit return, enter. I'm sorry, you're going to hit shift, enter, and then paste in that text that you want to have analyze. And on the other side, it's going to spit out, like I did some of my own writing, and this is what it spat out. I just copy pasted it. But based on the provided copy, here's an analysis of the style, voice, and tone. And it will go through it and give you some ideas around it. And at the end, it gives you kind of a summary. Overall, the style, voice, and tone for the provided copy is informal, personal, and friendly. The author establishes a connection with the reader through relatable and anecdotes and a conversational writing style, while also infusing a sense of humor and optimism. So that's the particular piece that I submitted. That was the answer it got. So now let's be a little cheeky with that. Okay, Elizabeth, we've already gotten it to scan your information. We know we don't want to put any personal information, so we don't want it to sound like Elizabeth. So what if we did something like this? You prompt it and say, can we use this style, voice, and tone going forward? We will give this style, voice, and tone a name, like Phil. I don't know why I said Phil, but that's what I told it. And its answer was, certainly. So moving forward, we can adopt the Phil style. So now, anytime I write something or ask for a response, I can say, can you write this in the voice of Phil? And that's what I'm going to get back. Kind of funky, huh? So, one more thing. We talked earlier about how, was it 45,000? No, what the heck was it? How many words does it remember? Oh, 65,000. So 65,000 words before it starts forgetting the conversation. So if it forgets a prompt and it starts forgetting where it was, what you can do here is you can copy and paste the previous response from your analyzed text and ask it, let's talk like this, or can we use this style, tone, and style, voice, and tone going forward? And so that's a way for you to kind of prompt it and get it back to where you were. I guarantee you this is going to happen. You'll have some output, especially if you're doing like a long haul conversation and you're getting lots of information. it will have a habit at some point of forgetting what you were talking about. So you just remind it. I would always keep maybe like a Google spreadsheet or something. And when there's particular things that you want to make sure that aren't forgotten, just copy it, put it in that Google spreadsheet or Google Doc, sorry. And then when the time comes that you need to retrain it, you don't have to scroll all the way back up looking for it. You can just copy it, paste it. Oh, by the way, we're talking like this. Or, oh, by the way, this was our topic. And you can remind it. And it'll come back with something cute like, oh, I forgot that's what we were talking about. Okay, what do we want to do now? It's fun. All right, wrapping up. Ready? Be responsible. It's a tool. ChatGPT, any AI is a tool. And it's not to overshadow your creativity. People are afraid that AI is going to steal their jobs. At this point, I can tell you with 100% certainty, it's still going to be a little while before it's able to talk like a human. And if it ever does at all. At this point, it's just a response. And what your job is take that response and put it in your voice, give it your soul so that it breathes and lives out in the open for other people to digest and enjoy. The worst thing that you can do, I swear, if you just use this copy, if you've already played around with it, you know it comes out as dry as a popcorn fart. It is not the most creative text. So add your soul to it. I encourage you, add your soul. So some AI tools, somebody had asked about this, plugins and whatnot. All these tools are available for you. Jasper's great for writing. There's other options that you can use. Koala AI, WriterX, Perplexity. There's one called Hugging Face, which is kind of cute. I use Grammarly all the time. I've been using it for years. That I can't get stress enough. Grammarly has saved my tail so many times. And at the bottom, you'll see I put in a URL there. There's an AIforthat.com. And there you're going to see thousands of AI tools, and they're all categorized so that if there's something specific you're looking in, like a plugin, or you're looking specifically for blog posts or content creation, it will tell you these are the tools best to use for this. That's it. Ta-da!
Ta-da! We'll go ahead and go into questions because, Marcus, there are many, many, many questions. So if you want to go ahead and stop sharing your screen, we'll just have a little bit of a fireside chat here and get into this. So Christina starts off the party of the Q&A with, I've noticed that ChatGPT tends to use the same phrases over and over when writing about a specific topic. Is there a way to tell it to stop? By the way, that's in quotes, Marcus. Stop using certain phrases.
Yeah, you literally, you type in, stop saying this from now on. There's times where I've actually said, don't put any colloquial expressions in, or, there's times where it's going to say, what's the one that bugs me the most? Remember, that's the one that bugs me the most. Remember that, da, 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 da. I'm like, well, of course we remember it. I'm not going to say that again and again and again. So that, you got to get to the point where you just tell it to stop. It's a tool. Don't be afraid to hurt its feelings. You don't have to ask please. You don't have to say thank you, although I still do sometimes. It's just a tool. So tell it what to do.
Nice. Karen asks, what is the best way to prompt one concept into a 100-word overview, 500-word blog post, and 800-word article?
All right. Ask that one more time.
So Karen asks, what is the best way to prompt one concept into what it sounds like 3 pieces of content? 100-word overview, 500-word blog post, and then 800-word article is what Karen wrote.
Well, I would say, if I'm understanding correctly, you already have an existing piece of content. I would say, can you turn this piece of content into, a 100-word, I'm imagining it's a blog post. I don't know. 100-word Facebook post, hit your shift, hit your return, and then paste in the full copy that you have. and it will spit out basically a summary of that article into 100 words. And you can chop it up the same way for the 300 word. You can chop it up the same way for something else, and you can add tweaks. I mean, you can ask it to take a different perspective. If it's something that it's an opinion piece, what would be the opposite opinion of this? And then have it kick back that. And that'll trigger you to have an idea when you're writing to say, okay, what would other people think about this? I don't want to keep just my line of thinking. I want to think like, what would somebody critical of this say? And then address that as well. So you start answering the questions before they're asked.
Interesting. When you say that, I think about having open-minded conversations with ChatGPT. James asked, can I provide post-2021 data to ChatGPT in a prompt to get the response I want?
Yes, you could introduce it as content. I wish I understood what his output was. If I knew the format he wanted it in, if it's something like a summary, or you're asking for historical data pre-September 21 about that article, absolutely, 100%, it'll work. If you're asking it to contribute to it based on that content in a modern, post-September 21, post-21 content, it's not going to be able to do it.
Here's an interesting one. Number one trick for using ChatGPT to optimize content for SEO.
There's actually an AI for that. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I think it's Writer X. I could be wrong, but I would go to, there's an app for that and specifically look for SEO and it will optimize it. Now, that said, ChatGPT can do it. It's not a specialty. That's why I think it's important that you just don't use one tool. If you're using Jasper or Bard or whatever tool is your favorite, you got to get out of that mindset because there's other tools that are more specific to your needs, especially for like SEO, especially for like if you're doing content creation, those tools are customized just for that output or that format.
Marcus, I love this question because I think it leans into who's using ChatGPT and how they're using ChatGPT. But BL asks, how are you vetting the information that comes up with the prompts?
Ooh, good question. Some of it is just Google searches. Hey, what can I find on this? Doing some background information. With the book that we're writing, I've actually had to go to like ChatGPT to verify some of the information and be able to kind of explain it in the way that maybe OpenAI would have explained it, not the way that I would explain it. I've done that before. What are other things to do? Oh, there's tools. Again, go to, there's an app for that, or an AI for that, sorry. And you can actually find, there's plagiarism tools out there. You can scan it in there to see if it's cut from something else. And then if it is, I've actually gone and read the whole article and it's given me other ideas on other stuff to write. So it can actually help you source information as well as kind of a tertiary type of benefit.
Very good. Do you think in time there will be a limit to how many prompts we can put in? Is that why we need to get better and efficient with prompts?
Yes. Right now, ChatGPT 4 will only allow you to do 25 prompts in a 3-hour period. The reason why they do that is because it taxes the servers quite a lot. They've got, well, first of all, it's the fastest growing consumer app that's ever been. And I think they've got right now 180 million customers, sorry. And so it costs them roughly $500,000 per day to run those systems. I mean, it's insane. So that's why they're capping that right now. Over time, I mean, they'll find new ways to optimize it, get it better, give you more options or not options, but more prompts within a time period. I'm sure that's going to happen as time goes on.
Very nice. Sean asks a very interesting question, which
Come on,
also
Sean.
leads into,
Let's hear it.
leads into doing things the right way, actually. Can ChatGPT include citations if prompting for scientific information? How/can ChatGPT provide where the information came from/was sourced from?
Ask it to cite its sources specifically. Give me links to the sources.
That was an easy answer.
That was an easy answer.
Let's see. What type of prompt would you use to have ChatGPT help write product descriptions and corresponding website copy?
Well, first of all, I would put in a created document that was just about maybe the features, the statistics, or whatever the benefits are of the product. What's the customer going to get out of this? Why is it important to the customer? Put all of that and assemble it in one document. Maybe they're just bullet points. Maybe they're short little sentences. It doesn't necessarily have to be formatted. It just, the information needs to be there together. And then you can start introducing it to ChatGPT. One way to do it would be incrementally. You could say, hey, I'm going to write this product, and I'm going to start giving you information about it. I want you to analyze it, and at the end, we're going to write this article, and then just go back and forth with it, introducing each piece. And as it goes, you have that output, and then you can start asking questions. Once you have that output, you can say, is there a better way to frame this? Or what you can ask it flat out, what does the customer get out of this? And it'll give you a summary statement. And if those summary statement checks out, you'll have a better feeling, okay, this is going to work. Otherwise, if it doesn't, you might want to tweak it some more.
Very good. Trevor asks, can you provide your own data, quotes, text in paid version?
Is the question to introduce it to
I think where it's going, if I had to lean into, is like, I want, in my case, right, or in our case, I want marketingprofs.com to be the source and look at marketingprofs.com information for what I'm trying to generate. I think that's where Trevor's going with this.
Yes, but you would have to train it. Because of the limitations, it's going to forget. I don't think it would be in your best interest to try to do it that way. I would err on the side of going back to, there's an AI for that. And I know there is, I just can't recall it. It's in the back of my head. I just can't call it, but it will actually ask you for a website, and you can say, go to marketingprofs.com and scan all the content. And then you can actually ask it or interact with it based on that. I can't remember the name of the tool, but it will scrape the entire website, all of the data, and that you can actually create AI content from that website, which actually would be a great cheat if you're a marketer and you're looking for content.
I'm just saying.
Sorry,
do marketers need great cheats? Maybe not. This question right here is interesting because it was asked from multiple people in different ways, and I tried to combine it into a question and even added a little bit of a direction to maybe is right or not. But Marcus, I really want to get your thoughts on this. Jack, Kim, Jill asked the question around, can you, Marcus, recommend any plagiarism detection tools? And Suzanne asks, is Grammarly plagiarism tool sufficient? So maybe unpack a little bit of that. We've now generated this stuff. How do we make sure it's copacetic for us to use moving forward?
Well, I'll start with this. Not any one of them are 100%. And I should probably be able to pull these. I have a lot of these bookmarked. Suffice to say, just for sake of time, because I don't want to go looking for it, I would, again, go back to, there's an AI for that. You can try it on multiple searches. I know that Amazon's actually coming out one, so they're going to screen books. So as those books come in, they'll actually be screening those books. So for all those people who are telling you, you can write a book in a weekend, and put it on KDP and make millions, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's going to come to a screeching halt very quickly. So I would say go to the website. There's an AI for that, and search for that. And don't just do one, use several. They're not 100%. So, use several.
Nice.
I wish I could remember the name of the one I used, but anyway. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. So Carrie, again, some of these questions are very interesting, the directions in which they could go. But Carrie asked, I'd also like to hear your thoughts on losing our ability to craft and be creative using our own minds. If we have a platform that does this for us, our cognitive learning and growing will suffer. No? Yes? I don't know. Marcus, what are your thoughts?
Isn't that society in general right now? I mean, you think about it, how much school we have to go to, and we're just there's a whole political statement on all that. But the answer is yes. I think over time, it's no different than musicians. Before they had to be in the studio, it was on tape. You got it, either you got it or you didn't. It's not like today where you can record it and slice it up and get the good riff here and take the other part here that worked and whatever didn't work, pull that out, move some things around. I mean, musicians right now can sit down with a keyboard and a computer and throw everything into Pro Tools and start like mixing their own stuff. Now, does that make them less of a musician? Maybe because they have an ear for it. Are they a musician? I mean, I don't know how to answer that. But to answer the question, yes, I think it's going to dumb things down. And the people that are going to keep their jobs once this starts, taking over, the people that are going to keep their jobs are the ones that are able to be experimental, that are able to think outside the box, that are able to take something, edit it, and turn it into something worthy of being read.
Very nice. We're going to keep plugging along. We've got some time left, and I'm looking at, as much as I'm clearing out these Q&As, the number still says 79 questions. So this has been absolutely amazing. But here we go. Scott asked, please go over again exactly where ChatGPT is pulling its info. I thought it was the entire internet. Will that change in the future? Thoughts, Marcus?
No. There's a blog post on OpenAI. You know what? At the end, when we're done, I'll look it up and I'll post it in the chat, hopefully at the end, so you can read it. But it actually tells you all the sources. A big majority of it is Reddit. I guarantee you. A lot of it is from Wikipedia. There's chunks and change from some other stuff, but it's really about conversations. So anywhere they could get conversations with humans back and forth, and then take a Wikipedia for wisdom, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, background information. That's what they used. So,
love it. Some of these questions, y'all are killing me, ladies and gentlemen. In a good way, by the way. I am not saying in a negative way at all, but these questions are a window into the human mind and how we're thinking about AI and our business and all of this. So Breer asks, so alternatively, should we be proactively populating our company messaging in ChatGPT so that it learns to speak about us favorably?
No, there's no way to do that. Each conversation you have is just for your conversation, where you are. It does not get graphed into the greater, whatever matrix. Doesn't get sucked up into the whole matrix. Those conversations are there. They're alone. They're going to get forgotten in 30 days. But no, you're not going to be able to train it to say nice things about you. Not yet.
Not yet.
Somebody will find a hack for it someday.
And there'll be a plugin for that.
There'll be a plugin for that. Yeah.
So I've recently heard the term prompt engineer. Is that really a thing, Marcus?
People think it is. Here's the thing. If you're a prompt engineer, first of all, somebody who would be a prompt engineer would have to be a subject matter expert in whatever the topic is. Otherwise, they're not going to know how to set up the prompt. So I think it's rubbish, to be honest. I don't think it's a real thing. What it will do, though, is like in the early days of Google, when people learned how to craft their searches, where they could do a plus something or a minus something or put something in quotes, and you learn how to optimize the search output. The same thing in with AI for doing text. You'll be able to find and figure out those shortcuts, like a lot of them that I gave you today. And there'll probably be more later, you know. Who knows what's going to come down the pike. But what I would say, though, is that the term itself is short-lived. I think it's a hot thing. Everyone's going to be like, ooh, ooh. But it's like, do you remember when we used to say you were a webmaster? Well, what's a webmaster now?
Yeah. I think Michael's onto something. Michael, prompt whisperer. Yes, I think that should be something in the future. I love that in the chat pane. You're cracking me up.
I would sign up for that. I think that's good.
Jane asked, does it know what it just wrote for you, or do you need to copy and paste with the next question, like analyze and improve this for me? Talk through just a little bit more of the process of actually running through a conversation.
It will remember the conversation up into a point, about 64,000 words. I think 65,000, 64,000, something like that. It will remember those words. And there's also times where it will forget in the middle of that. I've seen that happen too. So in those cases, like I said before, have a little, Google Doc that you put in the important stuff and retrain it. But to answer the question specifically, yes, it does remember what you're talking about up into a point.
Nice. Let's see here.
Oh, one more thing I would say about that, though, is if you leave, let's say you're working into the night and it's 10 o'clock, whatever, and you go to bed and you wake up the next morning at 9 and you're on it again, don't expect it to answer it the same way. I have found so many times where it didn't remember it, even though we were just talking about it. So I don't know what that is all about, but maybe overnight it dissipates. I don't know.
So this one takes a turn. I mean, I want to ask it just because I'm curious. Rebecca, this goes a little bit out of the content creation realm that we've been in today, sort of, but not really, kind of. Anyway, Rebecca asks, is there any way to use ChatGPT to code a WordPress website for people who don't know coding and can only design the front end of a website? Like, have you heard anything about this, Marcus?
Yes, it's possible. You can ask it to do chunks of code. In fact, can I share my screen real quick?
You can.
I will show you because we had just talked about it. This is remember I told you how I made that little prompt? The expert.
Yep.
Get bigger. I don't know if that'll get bigger, but this is the immediate release. It actually spat out the HTML right here for the blog post, or wherever you want to embed it. So yes, it can do the code. You just click on copy code. You've copied it, paste it, off you go. Now, as far as WordPress, it's PHP. So hopefully you need to know the PHP nuances because there is some, structure and different ways that PHP behaves. So if you don't know that, you need to learn that component pretty quick first, just so that you don't put it in the wrong place and mess it all up.
Nice. And we might have you pull your screen back up here in a minute. Maybe just do one for fun for a second before we end this. But yeah, for funsies. But before we do that, this is another interesting question. What are the benefits of the paid subscription for ChatGPT versus using the free version?
The biggest one is you get access to GPT-4. GPT-4 is light years ahead of GPT 3.5. It's got a lot more information. It's got something around 170 trillion parameters or billion. I don't know. Can't remember. It's got a lot. But yeah, that's one thing. And so you'll have access to that. The other thing is the beta. You'll actually have access to the betas. So if you want to use some of these new plugins that OpenAI is releasing, you need to have the paid version in order to take advantage of that.
Yep. So one statement, and then I will ask a question. Obviously, Improv's team, the chat pane, everybody wants access to the chat pane conversation after this is over. I don't know if that's possible or not to put on the page for the pro members, but I'm just throwing that out there. Why don't we, Marcus, go ahead with maybe like 2 minutes. You share your screen, run through just a chat prompt for funsies, and then we'll go ahead and let everybody get back to the regularly scheduled day while I close this out.
Well, why don't we open it up to everybody? Put in the chat, and I can't see the chat right now, so you're going to have to read it to me, George.
Okay. Okay.
Give me something that you want to produce. Give me a persona.
Oh, meal
Give me
planning.
a persona first.
Andrea's first. She says meal planning. So we're going to go with meal planning.
Okay.
Yep. A month of social posts. You were second. Sorry.
A fitness instructor. You're a fitness instructor and nutritionist.
Nice.
I'm going to see how bad my typing is. Nutritionist. I'll fix it afterward. Nutritionist who is creating a meal plan. Let's optimize it. What kind of meal plan? Let's do it for
vegan.
A vegan. Okay, we'll do that. A vegan meal plan for, let's say, husband and wife.
For a month
to lose 10 pounds in a month. Okay, how do I spell nutritionist? Why isn't it okay, nutritionist.
There we go. Okay, that should at least get us there. Oh, that's funny. Somebody added with adequate protein.
Ooh. Hold on. Can I
smart people in the well, is this where you would like use one of your prompts to add this with like proper protein? Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, and somebody added for under $100 a month. So with proper protein and for under $100 a month.
Wow, it's thinking. I don't think I've ever seen it think this long.
Yeah, all right. That's fun.
But this is the way you do it, right? You just stack on those things. You create the context or the persona. Then you're going to create the, the context around it. You're going to create all the pieces and parts that are needed so that you have the task, you have the steps, you have the context, you have the goal, the format, and then make sure you have it, if you have them, assets that it's going to do. I've never seen it take this long.
Yeah, it might be having a little bit of an issue. It does realize that there's 711 people watching it right now, probably. So it's having issues. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Marcus, first of all, thank you again for a fantastic presentation.